In January 2015, South Africa was shaken by a brutal and shocking crime. A young man, Henri van Breda, stood accused of murdering his entire family with an axe. But what really happened that night? And how did this horrific crime unfold? This is the tragic story of the Van Breda family murders and the courtroom trial that captivated the world. On January 27, 2015, the Van Breda family appeared to have a peaceful evening. They were gathered together, enjoying each other's company, sharing stories and laughing over dinner. The atmosphere was warm and filled with the kind of familial love that many aspire to have at their luxurious home in the Zalze, Stellenbosch. The house, a grand mansion, stood as a symbol of their success and the comfortable life they had built. It was a serene night with the stars twinkling above and the quiet hum of the night settling in. The family consisted of Martin, the father, Teresa, the mother, and their 3 children, Rudy, Henri, and Marley. They were a close-knit family, often seen together at community events and known for their kindness and generosity. Their smiles in the family portrait reflected the happiness they shared. But by the next morning, everything had changed. The tranquility of the night was shattered by a horrific discovery. As the first light of dawn crept through the windows, the house that once echoed with laughter now stood silent and grim. Martin, Teresa, and Rudy were found dead, brutally attacked with an axe while they slept. The scene was gruesome, with signs of a violent struggle. Blood stains marked the walls and floors, painting a picture of the terror that had unfolded. 16-year-old Marley was barely clinging to life. She had suffered severe injuries and was rushed to the hospital, where doctors fought desperately to save her. The emergency room buzzed with activity as medical teams worked tirelessly, their faces etched with determination and concern. The only one seemingly unharmed was 20-year-old Henri van Breda. He appeared to be in shock, his face pale and his eyes wide with disbelief. He sat alone, grappling with the horror of what had happened, his mind racing with questions and fears. On this gruesome day, emergency services were called, and they replied with, "What's your emergency?" The calm voice of the 10111 operator cut through the chaos, a lifeline in the midst of the nightmare. Henri replied, "My family. They've been attacked." Henri's voice trembled as he spoke, each word heavy with the weight of the tragedy. The call marked the beginning of an investigation that would uncover dark secrets and lead to shocking revelations. Henri claimed a masked intruder had broken into the home and attacked his family. He said he fought the intruder off, but passed out from shock, only waking hours later to find his family dead. However, investigators quickly became suspicious. There were no signs of forced entry, and forensic evidence didn't support Henri's version of events. The murder weapon, an axe, was found in the home and belonged to the family. Only Henri's fingerprints were found on it, and the bloodstain patterns on his clothes told a different story. The trial begins. The air was thick with anticipation as the trial of Henri van Breda commenced. The courthouse was a hive of activity, with journalists, onlookers, and legal professionals all converging to witness what would become one of South Africa's most sensational trials. In June 2016, Henri van Breda was charged with 3 counts of murder, a crime that sent shockwaves through the nation. The charges were grave, and the details gruesome, capturing the attention of the public and media alike. 1 count of attempted murder, which added another layer of complexity to the case. The attempted murder charge was related to his sister Marley, who miraculously survived the brutal attack but was left with severe injuries and no memory of the event, and 1 count of defeating the ends of justice. This charge suggested that Henri had gone to great lengths to cover up his alleged crimes, further complicating his defense. His trial began in 2017, a year after the charges were laid. The courtroom was packed with spectators, all eager to see how the drama would unfold. The trial was not just a legal battle. It was a spectacle that captivated the nation. And for months, South Africans were glued to the courtroom proceedings. Every detail, every piece of evidence, and every testimony was scrutinized by a public hungry for answers. The case was a constant topic of conversation, dominating headlines and social media feeds. The prosecution argued that Henri, possibly driven by drug addiction or mental health issues, had murdered his family. They painted a picture of a young man spiraling out of control, whose actions were both calculated and cold-blooded, and then staged the scene to look like a break-in. The prosecution's narrative was that Henri had meticulously planned the crime, hoping to divert suspicion away from himself by creating a false scenario of a home invasion gone wrong. They relied heavily on forensic evidence, including bloodstain patterns and DNA analysis. Experts were brought in to testify about the scientific findings, which the prosecution believed would irrefutably link Henri to the crime. Meanwhile, the defense insisted that the police mishandled the case. They argued that the investigation was flawed from the start, with crucial evidence being overlooked or improperly handled, and that Henri was telling the truth about the masked intruder. The defense's strategy was to cast doubt on the prosecution's case by highlighting inconsistencies and gaps in the evidence. They argued that there was no clear motive for Henri to kill his own family. The defense questioned why a young man with no history of violence or significant behavioral issues would suddenly commit such a heinous act. Henri maintained his innocence throughout the trial, often appearing calm and composed as he recounted his version of events. His demeanor was scrutinized by both the media and the public, with opinions divided on whether it indicated guilt or innocence, stating that he had no reason to harm his family. He described the masked intruder in detail, insisting that he was a victim of a horrific crime rather than its perpetrator. The trial was a complex and emotional journey, with each side presenting compelling arguments and evidence. As the days turned into weeks and then months, the nation waited with bated breath for the verdict that would finally bring closure to this tragic case. The verdict and sentencing. After a lengthy trial filled with emotional testimonies and expert evidence, the judge delivered the verdict in May 2018. The courtroom was packed with family members, friends, and media, all waiting with bated breath. The tension was palpable as the judge began to speak, recounting the harrowing details of the case and the evidence that had been presented over the past months. Henri van Breda was found guilty of the murders of his father, mother, and brother, and the attempted murder of his sister. The announcement of the guilty verdict sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Some gasped in disbelief, while others wept openly. Henri himself remained stoic, his face betraying little emotion as the weight of the judge's words settled over him. The family of the victims, who had been present throughout the trial, clung to each other for support, their grief and relief mingling in a poignant display of raw emotion. The judge sentenced him to 3 life terms in prison, plus 15 years for the attempted murder of Marley. The severity of the sentence reflected the brutality of the crimes and the impact they had on the surviving family members. As Henri was led away in handcuffs, the reality of his fate began to sink in. The prison gates closed behind him, symbolizing the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, one marked by confinement and reflection. Despite surviving the attack, Marley suffered severe head injuries and lost her memory of the night, meaning she was unable to testify. Her injuries were so severe that she spent weeks in the hospital undergoing multiple surgeries and extensive rehabilitation. The loss of her memory was a double-edged sword. While it spared her the trauma of recalling the horrific events, it also left her with a void that could never be filled. Her inability to testify was a significant factor in the trial, as her account could have provided crucial insights into the events of that fateful night. To this day, she has never publicly commented on her brother's conviction. Marley has chosen to live a life away from the public eye, focusing on her recovery and trying to rebuild her life. The media has often speculated about her thoughts and feelings, but she has remained resolutely silent, preferring to keep her pain and struggles private. Her silence speaks volumes, a testament to the enduring impact of the tragedy and the strength it takes to move forward in the face of unimaginable loss. The aftermath and public reactions. The Van Breda case left South Africa divided. While many were satisfied with the conviction, others questioned whether the police had fully explored all possible scenarios. Some even believe Henri might be innocent. The case also raised broader questions about privilege, mental health, and violence in high-security communities like the Zalze. Today, Henri van Breda remains behind bars, and the once tranquil de Zalze estate is now a haunting reminder of the tragedy that befell the Van Breda family. The Henri van Breda case is one of South Africa's most notorious family murders. Shocking not just for the brutality of the crime, but for the fact that it was carried out by one of their own. Do you think justice was served in this case? Or is there more to the story that we still don't know? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories like this. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.